as, and I quote, a piece of political wreckage that the Rudd government has moved quickly to clear away in a way that responds to some of its supporters' emotional needs, unquote. Since the apology, Aboriginal poverty has got worse. The promised housing program is a grim joke. No gap has even begun to be bridged. Instead, the federal government has threatened communities in the Northern Territory that if they don't hand over their precious freehold leases, they'll be denied the basic services that we in white Australia take for granted. In the 1970s, Aboriginal communities were granted comprehensive land rights in the Northern Territory, and John Howard set about clawing back these rights with bribery and bullying. The Labor government is doing the same. You see, there are deals to be done. The Territory contains extraordinary mineral wealth, especially uranium. And Aboriginal land is wanted as a radioactive waste dump. This is very big business, and foreign companies want a piece of the action. It's a continuation, in fact, of the darkest side of our colonial history. It's a land grab. Where are the influential voices raised against this? Where are the peak legal bodies? Where are those in public life and in the media who tell us endlessly how fair-minded we are? Silence. But let's not listen to their silence. Let's pay tribute to those Australians who are not silent, who don't look from the side, those like Barbara Shaw and Larissa Barant, and the Mutijulu community leaders, and their tenacious lawyer, George Newhouse, and Chris Graham, the fearless editor of the National Indigenous Times, and Michael Mansell, Lyle Munro, Gary Foley, Vince Forrester, Pat Dodson, and Arthur Murray, and many more. And let's celebrate Australia's historian of courage and truth, Henry Reynolds, who stood against white supremacists, posing as academics and journalists, and the young people who closed down Woomera detention camp, then stood up to the political thugs who took over Sydney during APEC 2 years ago. And good on you, Ian Thorpe, whose voice raised against the intervention has yet to find an echo among the pampered sporting heroes in a country where the gap between white and black sporting facilities and opportunity has closed hardly at all. You know, silences can be broken if we will it. In one of the greatest poems of the English language, Percy Shelley wrote this: "Rise like lions after slumber, in unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep has fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few." But we need to make haste. An historic shift is taking place. The major Western democracies are moving towards a corporatism. Democracy has become a business plan with a bottom line for every human activity, every dream, every decency, every hope. The main parliamentary parties are now devoted to the same economic policies: socialism for the rich, capitalism for the poor, and the same foreign policy of servility to endless war. This is not democracy. It is to politics what McDonald's is to food. How do we change this? We start by looking beyond the stereotypes and the cliches that are fed to us as news. Tom Paine warned long ago that if we were denied critical knowledge, we should storm what he called the Bastille of words. Tom Paine didn't have the internet, but the internet on its own is not enough. We need an Australian glasnost, the Russian word from the Gorbachev era, which broadly means awakening, transparency, diversity, justice, disobedience. Edmund Burke spoke of the press as a fourth estate. I propose a people's fifth estate that monitors, deconstructs, and counters the official news. In every newsroom, in every media college, teachers of journalism and journalists themselves need to be challenged about the part they play in the bloodshed, inequity, and silence that's so often presented as normal. The public are not the problem. It's true, some people don't give a damn, but millions do, as I know from the responses over the years to my own work and films. What people want to be is engaged, a sense that things matter, that nothing is immutable, that unemployment among the young and poverty among the old are both uncivilized and wrong. What terrifies the agents of power is an awakening of people, of public consciousness. This is already happening in countries in Latin America where ordinary people have discovered a confidence in themselves they didn't know existed. We should join them before our own freedom of speech is quietly withdrawn and real dissent is outlawed as the powers of the police are expanded. The struggle of people against power, wrote Milan Kundera, is the struggle of memory against forgetting. In Australia, we have much to be proud of, if only we knew about it and celebrated it. Since Francis McCarthy and Mary Palmer landed here, we've progressed only because people have spoken out, only because the suffragettes stood up, only because the miners of Broken Hill won the world's first 35-hour week, only because pensions and a basic wage and child endowment were pioneered in this state. In my lifetime, we've become one of the most culturally diverse places on earth, and it's happened peacefully, by and large. That's a remarkable achievement until we look for those whose Australian civilization has never really been acknowledged, whose genius for survival and generosity and forgiving have never really been a source of pride. And yet they remain, as Henry Reynolds wrote, the whispering in our hearts. For they are what is unique about us. I believe the key to our self-respect and our legacy to the next generation is the inclusion and reparation of the first Australians, in other words, justice. There's no mystery about what has to be done. The first step is a treaty that guarantees universal land rights and a proper share of the resources of this country. Only then can we solve together, issues of health, poverty, housing, education, employment. Only then can we feel a pride that comes not from flags and war and silence. Only then can we become a truly independent nation, able to speak out for sanity and justice in the world and be heard. Thank you.